It's time for another Dice Tower review with Z. Garcia.
Hey everybody, today I'm taking a look at The Builders Antiquity. This little game, which is a sequel to The Builders Middle Ages, this is the name of the old one. In this one, you are doing very much what you were doing in the last one. Actually, you are going to be getting workers, building buildings, and basically trying to have the most victory points at the end of the game when the game end is triggered. In this one, it adds a few things that the first one did not do. It gives you a few more things to think about. Let me show you how the game works, and then I'll tell you what I think of it. Here we go. So here's what the game might look like at the beginning. Each player has a random apprentice that they started with. You start with 10 coins. The golden ones are 5. And then we display out 5 of the buildings, and here's the stack to replenish that. 5 of the workers, and here's the stack for that. And then several other cards, which I'll talk about in 1 second. And you're ready to begin. The objective of the game is to have the most points, and once someone hits 17 points from buildings, then we finish out the round, and whoever has the most points is the winner. On your turn, you have 3 actions, which are free, and then you can pay for more actions. Each action would cost you 5 coins. And so the possible actions you have are you can start a construction, which means you take a building. And you can take any one building you want. As soon as you take that building, then we are going to replenish it with 1 from the stack. And each building quite simply tells you the requirements here on the side, how much money you're going to get when you finish that building, and then how many victory points you're going to get. Once you are finished with it, then you flip it over, and it just shows you the victory points, okay? So that's how that works. The second action you can take is you can recruit a worker. So you can take any one of these 5 workers. Then the other actions are you can make an investment, which are one of these 4 things. You can take a tool, which costs you $2, and it upgrades one of these things. Here they are, all of them. And the idea with the tools is you can send them along with a worker, and the tool is free to assign. You can send someone to the university, which lets you take one of these overlays, these plastic overlays, put it over a worker, and then that worker now has a statistic that is improved, ideally. Okay? And again, each one here gives you 3 ticks in whichever one you pick. There is 1 for each of the 4 different professions, I guess, or specialties. You can take a prisoner. A prisoner is just like a worker that you can send to work for free. At the end of the game, you are going to lose a victory point unless you free that prisoner. Once you free that prisoner, they can still work, but now you have to pay them to assign them to a location, which I'll talk about in 1 second. And then lastly, you can take a loan where you get 10 coins. You lose 2 victory points unless you pay it back, which is 15. This is to get some cash flow if you need it. So start a construction, recruit a worker, make an investment. You can then send a worker to a work site. That's a 4th kind of action. And quite simply, if you have a work site, you can take a worker, including the one you started with, and you can assign them to a location matching up the symbols as you can see here, and you pay however much it costs to assign that worker to a location, in this case 2. If I have somebody else, I can assign them as well. There is one rule, which is if you assign more than 1 worker to the same building in the same turn, the second worker assigned is 2 actions, the third worker assigned is 3 actions, etc. Obviously, you'd be paying for actions at that point. And then the last action is just take coins. For a single action, you get 1 coin. If you want to spend 2 of your actions taking coins, you get 3. If you want to spend all 3 free actions taking coins, you get 6. That's pretty much all you did that turn. This is going to continue until, like I said, someone crosses that 17 threshold, and then you finish out the round. You count up points. The way these buildings are finished, quite simply, is by having enough workers contribute the necessary amount here, which will typically take more than 1. but there are some that are quite simple, like this one, for example, is no victory points, 10 coins. You just need one tick in this one and one tick in this one, so this worker could get that done, for example. You pay your 4 coins, you assign them to this building, the building is done, the worker goes back to your worker pool, you get your 10 coins and flip this over. There are also a couple of buildings in here which become tools. They don't give you money. So this one is 2 victory points, scaffold, 2 victory points, but then when you flip it over, it's sort of like a tool, basically. You can assign it for an action, same thing, and it provides 3 towards that specific skill. This one happens to do that. There's basically 1 of each for each of the different categories here. Each one gives you 3 in one of these, okay? You continue doing that, like I said, at the end of the game. Victory points on these. Any prisoners you have not freed are -1. Any loans you don't pay back are -2. And every 10 coins is 1 point. And you actually would count point something for the leftover coin. So if I have 17 points and 2 coins left, my score is 17.2. I guess it's just to avoid ties. That's it. Once the game's over, whoever has the most victory points is the winner of the game. I already really liked what the Builders Middle Ages did. It was a tiny little game, and it gave you a really interesting economic game of, just managing your money. It's a tight design, being careful. It's all about the timing, about, when you get the influx of money, all of those things. But it also had fewer options than the new one, Antiquity. And Antiquity, basically, all the other actions that I showed you there at the top, like taking out a loan, the prisoners, the sending people to the university, the tools, all of those things are new. In the old one, it was buildings and it was workers and getting money. But that was pretty much it. And so I think this new one is a pretty nice step up from the last one. I like the variety. It makes it a little bit more of a gamer's game. And having all those options, while you won't take them all the time, gives you a nice interest, a nice amount of variety in the design. I really like all the new options. I like the university one with the transparent cards that you overlay over a worker you already have. That's cool. I like the tools. They're cheap, but you can add them to a worker, and it's a quick one, a +1 to something, but sometimes that comes really in handy. The loan is interesting. It really lets you kind of pick up steam. And, if you feel like you're falling behind or something, you can grab those $10 and boom, make a move, So this is a nice design. Like I said, I already like the original, and I think this is a better game. I would recommend, if you haven't seen either, haven't played either, I would recommend you go right for this one. The Builder's Antiquity is a lot of game in a little package, and that's always impressive to me. So thumbs up for this one. Check it out if you like economic games, if you like this sort of tight little manage your own empire sort of game. And the games are very quick also, which I also think is a plus here. The Builder's Antiquity. Check this one out, folks.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.